Hello, good morning to all. So, in this first lecture of the series on Python, I am going to introduce you with the programming concept, that what is all about programming and giving instruction to the computer. So, if we look at our computer it consists of the input devices, it consists of the brain, which is a CPU that contains the processing unit and the output device. And this computer can understand only the machine language, which is just a streams of 0 and 1s, known as a binary number. But we humans can understand only English or mathematics, English and mathematics. All the different knowledge that we know, whether it may be about physics, mathematics, biotech, civil, mechanical, electronics, or any language, we can represent that language in terms of English and mathematics. But then, since the machine can understand only the machine language, means 0 and 1, so how it is possible for the humans to give instruction to the computer? To give instruction to the computer, we need to know, we need to learn these streams of 0 and 1s so that we can give instructions to the computer. So, and since it is difficult for a programmer or for a human being to learn different codes for different instructions, so it is not easy, or it is difficult for the programmer to give instruction to the computer in terms of machine language. The solution is that the solution comes with the introduction of programming language like C, Java, and Python. These programming languages consists of a compiler or an interpreter, which is a program code that converts the code written in somewhat English language to a machine language. It means that now we do not need to learn the machine language codes. Just we need to learn the rules of the programming language, which is quite easy in comparison to learning the machine language code. Over here, remember that since the compiler or the interpreter is also a type of a program, so we need to follow the rules very strictly. It does not know about the emotions. So whatever we are going to write, it is going to follow it exactly. So even a small mistake of adding extra full stop can cause an error in the program. So over here, since we know that our computer, it consists of the input devices with the help of which we are able to take some input to the computer, to the CPU, and then CPU process the data and accordingly give some output in the form of like printout or in the form of displaying something onto the screen. If we go inside the CPU, then it consists of the memory, control unit, and the arithmetic logic unit. All the data and all the instructions that is there for the computer, it is first going to be stored into the memory, and it is from the memory that the control unit and the arithmetic logic unit, they fetch the information, they fetch the instruction from the memory, and then they process the instruction and accordingly execute and provide the output. So it means everything need to be stored into the memory. So what is this memory? This memory is somewhat like this. It has different slots. Each slot can store a number of 8 bits, means only a sequence of 0 and 1, only 8 in quantity. So, and each slot will have the addresses. It means that whatever, like if I want to store some alphabet, I need to store it into the memory. If I want to store some number, I have to store it into the memory. If I am providing some instruction to the computer, then that instruction will also be stored into the memory. And from the memory, then this control unit and ALU is going to fetch that instruction and will do some processing, and according to the requirement it is going to control or produce the output in the output unit. Now if we look at, now let's see how we can provide instruction to the computer. And for that, since we know about English and mathematics and we have to use this, we have to represent this knowledge in terms of machine language so that we can provide the information to the machine. So if we talk about English and mathematics, so in English, we have the alphabets. We have the capital alphabets, we have the small alphabets, we have some punctuations and other special entities like the semicolon, full stop, hash, dollar sign, percentage sign, curly bracket, square bracket, parenthesis, etc. We also have the digits. It is with this information of the alphabets, special entities, and the digits we can represent each and every literature or the mathematics. We can represent in physics, we can represent information that is there in the civil, biotech, electronics, and everything. Now, this same information is represented in the programming language in terms of characters, strings, integers, and float. If I want to represent this character, if I want to represent or if I want to store the alphabets, I have to store them by placing them inside the single quotation mark. And this single alphabets, they are known as the character, abbreviated as char, char. If I want to store the group of characters, then I need to enclose it inside the double quote, and it is abbreviated as str. In Python, both these characters and strings, they are collectively known as string, abbreviated as str. Abbreviated as str. If I want to store the numbers, then if I am storing the number like this, which are integer, then these are known as integers and it is abbreviated as int, int. If I want to store the real numbers like this, then these are known as float numbers, abbreviated as float. Over here, no, you cannot over here that if I put this digit inside the single quote, then it is the character. Whereas if I store this value without the single quote, then it is acting like an integer. Means the difference is that when the number is in the form of integer, it can be used for the mathematical calculations. Like we can add 1 plus 2, we can add the numbers. If it is inside the single quote, then it is represented as the character. Means we cannot use it for the mathematical calculations. Now, whatever values, whether it is character, string, integer, or float, whatever values that we want to store into the memory, we have to, in a program, we have to assign it to a variable. Variable are simply the names that we give to the memory slots in which the value will be stored. For example, like over here, this is a type of a memory in which in each slots I can store the information of 8 bits, that is a sequence of 8 0 and 1s. If I want to store, suppose if I want to store this h, then it will occupy one slot. If I want to store integer usually takes 4 bytes. So it means I need to have 4 slots. So the amount of memory, if I store this number, I give some symbolic name to this memory. So if I write b equals to h, it means that I provide, like over here, if I store h over here, it means that this is the symbolic name for this memory, that now I can represent this memory with the name B, and whenever I refer to this name, variable name B, it means that I am talking about this value H. If I store value 5 in the memory, then A will be the symbolic name of the memory which store this value of 5. So whenever I want, if I am using this variable name for A, then it means I am talking about value 5. So variable names are simply the names given to the memory slot in which the values in which we are storing the values. And as per the type of the value that is present inside the memory, or as per the type of the value that the variable is having, we call that variable, we call this as the data type. Means this character, string, int, float, they are known as the data type, as it decides the type of value that is present in the variable. For example, if I say a is equals to 5, so since a store the value of integer, so a is the variable of int type. B is equals to h. H is the character, so B has the data type of char. C is equals to 4.5. Since C is having a real value, float value, so the data type of this C, it is the float. So with the data type, we are able to know that what type of value the variable is having. Just a minute, it just goes hang. And participants, if you have any doubt, you can put your questions in the comment box so that I will be able to answer. So once we store the information into the variable, now we can use these variables to give instruction to the computer. Like for example, if I want to give some mathematical instruction to the computer, simply I can put commands like this: 2 plus 3, or if I first assign the value like a equals to 5 over here, and then if I put this instruction b equals to a into 3 over here, this star, it represents multiplication. So if I put b equals to a into 3, it means that computer is going to calculate 5 into 3, and it will be equals to 15. So the value of b, it will become 15. If I give this instruction to the computer, so it will compute that the value of a, it is 5 plus 5 into value of b is 15. So simply it is going to do this. So the value of C, it will be 150. So once I am able to store the value into the variable, then I can give the arithmetic instruction to the computer easily. After that, apart from the mathematics, like quite often if we look at our decision, the way we used to make a decision, our most of the actions, it depends on some question. Like for example, over here today we have I am giving a lecture at 6 a.m. So before coming to 6 a.m., I start this live session at 6 a.m. So I started this live session only when the time reaches 6 a.m. So I keep on asking the question whether it is 6 a.m. or not. And when it is 6 a.m., I started the live session. And when it is not 6 a.m., when it is less than 6 a.m., I was just waiting to start the live session. So it means my path depends on the question, or depends on the answer to the question. Answer to the question is whether it is 6 a.m. or not. So it means that the flow, my path, it depends on the answer to the question. So similarly in programming also, we have to there may be other different paths that we need to follow depending on the answers to some particular question. So over here, the flow control structure, they are the commands that allow the program to decide to take one direction or another. And we have three types of control structures. One is sequential, selection, and the interaction. The sequential is that we start a program and we read the program from top to bottom. Means the instruction that comes first will be executed first, and the instructions or the statement that comes second will be executed second, and so on. So the compiler or the interpreter is going to read our program from left to right and top to bottom in the same way as we used to read the books. This flow is known as the sequential flow. Second is the selection, in which when we start a program and suppose if we have two paths to go, so selection of the path will be decided by the condition. We are going to put some condition, means we are going to frame some questions like whether it is 6 a.m. or not, and if it is 6 a.m. then my path will be this, and I will execute this set of statements. Over here my statement is that start the live session. If the question is, if the answer to the question is false, means if it is not 6 a.m. then it is false. So in that case my set of statements will be that I have to wait for 6 a.m. So with the help of this selection, I will be able to decide the path as per the answer to the questions. So this comes under the category of selection flow control structures. And the third is iteration. In iteration, like as I have taken the example of waiting, I am waiting for the live session to be started at 6 a.m. So I keep on asking the question, right? So I started the program, then I ask the question if it is 6 a.m. or not, means if it is less than 6 a.m. then if it is true, then I will just keep waiting for the live session to start. And again, while waiting, again I will go back and again I will ask the same question, if it is 6 a.m. or not. If it is not, then I again come to over here that I have to wait, and again I will come and I will ask question. So this will be a continuous process, that continuously I will keep on asking the question, same question, and I will follow this same path. But once it is 6 a.m. then my path is going to change, and I will come to this. So over here, when repetition is there, when I need to repeat the same thing again and again, that can be done by using the iterations flow control structures. In programming language, when we are talking about these selections, then selections can be done with the help of if-else statements. And when we talk about the iterations, it can be done with the help of while loop and for loop. Now, to make the conditions to ask questions, we need relational and logical operators. So, in the computer programming languages, we have the operators known as the relational and the logical operators. With the help of the relational operator, we are able to compare the two operands. We are able to compare the two quantities, and as per the comparison result, our path will be decided. And with the help of the logical operator, we will be able to combine more than two questions. So if we want to ask more than one questions, in that case, we can combine all the questions with the help of the logical operators. So with the help of this operator, we are able to frame all the questions for the programming languages. Now, after that, in the programming language, we may need to group similar or dissimilar data. For example, suppose if I am writing a program to calculate the average marks of the students obtained in Python. So over here I should have all the values, all the marks of all the students in one place. So means I need to group all the marks in one place so that I can calculate the average. For example, we prepare the Excel file for the marks of the student, and from there we calculate the average. Similarly, if we look at the complete information of the student, then that complete information includes the enrollment number of the student, the name, the different subjects the student is learning, and so on. So we may have similar data types, we may have similar data having the similar data type, or we may have dissimilar data that are there in a group. So in Python, to group similar or dissimilar data type, we have the list, tuples, dictionary, and set. With the help of these four, we can group similar or dissimilar data types so that we can process the complete data together and can come out with some conclusive statement. For example, if I am processing the marks obtained by the students, so I may come out with the average marks scored by the students, or the standard deviation, what is the variability difference between the marks of different students. So that can be done when we have the data grouped into the single entity. After that, in programming, we need functions. We need to write a function, and the purpose of writing a function is that, suppose if I want to do the same task again and again in different programs, then it's always better to write a function. Function are the small codes that are written separately. They expect some inputs, and as a result they return the output. And once it is written, same code can be used in different part of the same program or in different programs also. So it reduces the efforts of the programmer. We, being a programmer, we do not need to write the same thing again and again for the different programs. For example, in programming languages, we have the command to print or to take input from the user. So to print something, it is quite often, like in a single program, we may need to print the information several times. So over here, we do not need to write a complete print, the code that is there behind the print command. We do not need to write it again and again. Simply we call the print function, and with the help of the print function, we are able to print the complete information in a single line again and again. So that reduces the effort of the programmer. So any code that we are reusing again and again in the same program or in different programs, so we can write that code as a function, and so that we can use it in the program again and again. And after that, last thing that is there in the programming is the oops. Now the concept of oops is related to the class and the object, and the example related to oops is like, suppose for example, if we suppose if we have the electrical switches placed in our home. So whenever we talk about the electrical switches, then all the switches that is there in our home, they should have one feature of on and off. Apart from that on and off feature, they also have some properties, attributes like the size, the color of the switch, right? So means it has some attributes like color, the size. It has some functions like it has the capability to switch on and switch off. Now this color, size, and the functioning, it is common to all the switches. So that is the class. But that is the class. Now if I want to design a new switch, so or if the customer wants to have the customized switch, then the function of on and off, it remains same. The size and the color should be there. Means the customer can ask to change the color, customer can ask to change the size, but the functioning will remain same, right? So that is the concept of the oops, that in the by using the class, we classes can be seen as a template for creating an object. It is a blueprint for the objects. Like for a switch, we have the blueprint that it has some color, some size, and the functioning of on and off. So in the same way, if we have some program, some in a program in which we have some properties, some attributes, and we have some functioning, then it's always better to write a class for that. So that same thing can be used for different parts or of the program, or for different or if we want to use it in different programs. So, and the difference between oops and the function is that function is over there, we simply in the function we simply have the function, we are just providing the functioning, whereas in oops it is the complete blueprint that contains the attributes as well as the functions. So this is about oops. So with this, I am going to end this lecture. And over here today, my focus is just to introduce you with the programming concept, that what are the things that are there in the programming concept. And tomorrow in the next lecture, tomorrow at 6 a.m., I am going to start with Google Colab, which is a platform that is used to write a program in Python. I am using Google Colab. The reason is that since Google Colab is a platform provided by Google and is available, and anyone can use it through the Google account, our Gmail account. So we all will be at the same platform. So tomorrow we will start with Google Colab, and after that we will start with main programming on Python. So if you have any question, please you can put it in the comment box. Even I will put this thing in the recording. So if even if you have any doubt later on, you can put it in the comment box. Okay, friends. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you.